from the All Indiana Podcast Network. It's Diversity Focus Today. Now, here's your host, Rickie Solid Gold Clark.
And welcome to Diversity Focus Today. I'm your host, along with several of our co-hosts that we have today. Oh, my name is Rickie Solid Gold Clark. And then we have attorney Mike Murray over there in the corner that you can't see that's a corner. And we got the lovely Tammy, which I almost messed up her name, Harris, which is our copyright. And boy, Tammy does everything. I mean, what can I say? Anything you need, she can do it. So therefore, and we, of course, our great producers and directors that are in here. And we're ready to fire up on our program, Diversity Focus Today, which everyone should know about what diversity and inclusion and focusing is all about. On our program, we're going to talk about everything. We're going to talk about education, entertainment, politics, anything and everything, current events we will be discussing, and hopefully you'll enjoy what we're doing. Any comments from our co-host today thus far?
Excited. Welcome I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. Glad to be here. Offer my 2 cents.
No change on your 2 cents, all right? Okay, let's kick off with some of the current events and affairs, things that are going on right now. Our country, of course, is what I call extremely lopsided right now, with all the firings and all the incidents that are going on throughout the country, not only nationally, but locally as well as statewide. You guys have any concerns and comments on the state of affairs right now?
For me, it's definitely eye-opening to just see how things can play out in real time. It's like I used to see it on TV. Now it's like in our country, in my preview. So just being able to adapt to the division, trying to hold on to what's to come, seeing the beginning of what's to come. So it's mind-boggling. It's just trying to find peace and focus on my own life, but also understanding and being mindful of what's happening, because I think a big change is coming. And to just watch it in the making, it's kind of scary for me. It definitely is.
It's quite a bit unnerving for me as well, particularly as a former military person. I had this vision of unity of the United States, and it feels like we are on the precipice of massive division that threatens that United States unity. And so it's pretty unnerving as to how we're going to move forward and function as one nation, one people.
Absolutely. Okay, then what about statewide? Since we're broadcasting here in the state of Indiana, what's your opinion of what's going on in the state of Indiana, locally, statewide?
Well, here lately, I've been seeing a lot of protests of Republicans at the state house, and I'm a part of a lot of different organizations that's expressing concern. So that's interesting to know their after effect of who voted and who not, because it was something that wasn't talked about. Now it's like who everybody voted for, when it used to be like a private topic or undisclosed information of who I voted for. So I'm seeing more vocal and anger of those who probably voted for Trump. We are a red state, but I definitely live in a red community. And it's very quiet, I would say, just very quiet than that first election that we had when he was president. So it's just very interesting to see that dynamic switch up in my neighborhoods. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's that old saying about all politics is local. And so what we see on the national level, we're seeing here at home, and as Dr. T said, in our individual neighborhoods. And so the issue for me is, are we tolerant of people whose views differ from our own? Can we have those conversations? Can we still be friends and still be family, regardless of what side of the election you're on?
Yeah. Well, that's quite a point. I've heard various comments throughout the past year how politics has actually divided some families. I mean, I don't know if it's always been that way, but certainly with the atmosphere as to what it is, to have families disown each other, be angry with each other because, one politic is on one way looking at it, and the other one is looking at something else. Whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, or whatever. So that's quite interesting on both the national and statewide level.
Yeah, Ricky, I think it boils down to a question of what people fundamentally value. And I think where you're seeing these divisions in families and divisions among friend groups, people are looking at the other person and saying, you support that? I thought you were somebody different because here are the things I value. And if you support that person, you value these things. And so it's, can you harmonize those two groups of values?
Right. And that's kind of what I was saying. I'm hearing more vocalization of what the beliefs are and who they voted for. Before, you really didn't know. His friends is kind of, throwing religion out there, like being a Christian, how you identify as being a Christian with your values, and people have different. Now they say, well, I'm this type of person or I'm this type of belief, when it's, well, does that change how our relationship is? Because you see it from a different perspective than I do. So harmonizing, I think that's definitely trying to, what even diversity focus today is just how do we connect despite our differences,
Right.
And we connected, we shouldn't, one view shouldn't stay as for everybody, whether it's Republican or Democrat. I think what's really interesting and positive is that this particular election, we didn't have any outpouring of knocking down the Capitol and insurrection or anything like that. It's fair, and that's all I got to say. We created a system of democracy, and that's what we had. So we got to appreciate people's votes, people's rights, and the system. And you can argue and fuss all the way through, but when it's all said and done, the system worked in its own way. To allow for certain things to happen.
Yeah, as long as they're not trying to change the system, as some are trying to change the Constitution, which has been in place for many, many hundreds of years. So why you want to try to change that just to fit your thoughts, just to fit what you believe in?
Well, I also believe change is necessary. We wouldn't be able to grow in this world. I mean, if we had to just not change slavery, we wouldn't be here broadcasting today, because. Yeah,
that's true.
So it always been some type of rebellion against somebody's beliefs for the greater good. And there's greater good on both sides in a sense. So change is bad, but it's a matter of how do you adapt to it? How do you move forward? And we grew from a lot of different changes, and that's why generationally, my kids are older now, they see things differently, but I'm still looking at the lens in which I was raised with. But I try to understand because they're living that,
Yeah, our system was built for incremental change, not massive change all at once. And I think part of the problem of what we're seeing right now is people are trying to introduce massive change all at once and not necessarily getting the input from all quarters. We are, a multiplicious, a very diverse community, interests, religions, no religion, racial backgrounds, cultural backgrounds. And so in a system like that, you've got to be able to accommodate all of those interests, and massive change promoting one interest is something that is bound to cause huge tension and conflict, and that's kind of where we are right now as far as I see it.
Okay. I guess I should have introduced the background of our co-host today, Mike Murray. Of course, if you haven't already figured that out by the way he presents himself, military, former military, and of course an attorney. So what else, Mike, do you do?
I do a little bit of everything. I write, I speak. I'm an attorney, as you indicated. I do a lot of contracts and business work, so I see some of these issues focusing there as well.
And don't you also represent a number of universities and colleges?
Yeah, I have in my career represented several universities and colleges in Florida and Kentucky primarily.
Okay. Well, make sure we get that in. So, and we'll be giving the phone numbers and all later on. Okay. Dr. T, I call her Dr. T because when I first met her, we're writing a book together. She's our ghostwriter, or my ghostwriter, and for some reason I always had I kept not, I'm old, y'all. A lot of y'all look, well, Rick, you look young, but I've been in this business since 1970. So I kind of like come up, well, I'm gonna call you Dr. T, but it's actually Teresa. So
Tammy.
Oh,
You see
there, I messed it up already.
Thinking it was Teresa.
I don't know. You know what?
And he said, spell your Teresa. I was like, okay. And he's like,
I don't know why I said
you don't know how to
Teresa.
spell your name? I said, yeah, I do. And I was like, my name's Tammy.
Tammy. Well, you should have been a Teresa.
Dr. T. Yeah. Dr.
Teresa
T.
was my neighbor as a kid.
Oh, okay. See,
so
I'm special.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, Teresa. Yeah. Okay, I won't go into that right now. But okay, your history.
Yes.
Dr.
So
T.
I'm pretty much an artist by heart. I am a fine artist. I do graphic communications with Uniquely You by Tammy Harris. I also went into the field of art therapy. So I'm a board certified art therapist and a licensed mental health counselor, as well as a psychologist. So that's why I come up with the name Dr. T, because I teach at colleges and universities here in Indiana too as adjunct. So been doing psychology, been my second career. So it's been in that for about 16 years, but I've been an artist all my life. And it was during my studies of fine arts that I got introduced to art therapy. And here I am, and then I kept learning, and I became a psychologist, became a doctor in psychology, and I'm still learning. So it's exciting to be able to, share. I worked at schools, I worked at shelters, hospitals, private practice right now as well. And I'm also starting an online virtual art therapy consulting group in June. So we'll be making ourselves available to people around Indiana and beyond.
Okay, great. Well, for those that you younger folks that may not know me, Rickie Clark, they call me Rickie Solid Gold Clark because I spent 50 plus years in the radio and TV industry. Was able to be a part of putting on a number of radio stations in this market, including WTLC AM and FM and WHHH, better known as, when we put it on the air, it was Hot 96. I'm not sure what it's called now since it's got new owners and all. So, and an author and a record producer and artist and manager with a number of acts, some regionally, some locally, and some nationally. If I started naming names, I don't want to do that because I'll leave somebody out. And then I get a call saying, man, I saw it, but you didn't mention our name. So
Right.
I'm not going to mention any names,
Yeah.
but those of you that are watching and listening to the program, say, yeah, that's it. There he is. Yeah, and he looks the same. So, but good. So now you know what's going on in our team here. Oh, we're missing one, and that is our web designer, Brian Wallace, who comes from a radio background, but is now doing web designs and keeping quite busy. So at some point, we'll try to get him down here so you guys can meet and greet Brian Wallace. His company is, help me here, folks.
B-Dub Creative.
B-Dub Creation. So if you need any website done, and I should give his phone number, and I'm looking for it, but I don't see it, but I'm sure one of my guests, Tammy knows how to get everything real quick on the internet and on the computer. Like I said, I'm old school, so I learned. Now watch this, folks won't even know, and probably our producers here may not know. But when I was in school, there was no computers. We had typewriters, and if you're saying what a typewriter is, you better ask your grandparents. Okay, and they'll give you the answer as to what a typewriter. That was basically what you're doing now on your phones and computerized and everything. And Mike is giving me the number here, knowing that I can't. Okay, Brian Wallace says B-Dub Creations is area code 317-508-3001. Okay, you can reach him, get to him online too. And the print is too small, Mike, for me to read what his website is. So,
bdubcreative.com.
Okay, great. That was simple. And Tammy, we didn't mention how to get a hold of you.
My phone number right now is 317-426-8380. And then Hidden Gems by LG.com. You can also reach me by that, too. I help write books and authors and creative through that as well. So you can catch me on that website.
Working on the book that I'm writing, and I don't know. I might be a difficult client. Not sure, but she tolerates me.
No, it's not difficult. I always see the best in people, just like the world today. I see to try to find the best in it.
Amen.
Amen.
Can you tell she's a psychologist? Okay. So, you know what I did? I think I covered everybody. Did I cover me? I did cover you, Brian. Okay. Mike, Brian, Tammy. Okay. So, we didn't talk about locally as to what's going on. If you're in Indianapolis or in the surrounding areas, you probably know that this city has the worst roads. We call them potholes or chuck holes, and I'm sure if you're driving, everybody, and I'm sure everybody in this room, our producers and directors as well, has met one of their favorite potholes or chuck holes. Now you may call them something else when you hit them, but that's the worst I've ever seen them. So, if city government, mayor, or whatever you guys watching, you need to clean up your act and get these chuck holes done. I'm gonna call you out. In fact, we're gonna call out everybody. Each program is not doing their job, and certainly with all these chuck holes and potholes. Mayor Hallsat, and I'm calling your name too. You're not doing your job. You know, I just had to go to the tire place a couple of weeks ago for the second time in like 8 months.
Yeah, I had to rescue a friend from just last week, honestly, from a pothole incident. I had to get a new tire out there. It's just ridiculous.
Me three.
So
$600 of new tire and rim.
It bent the rim too of their tire.
And see our producer and director here, they're keeping quiet, but I can tell by the expression they like giving us a nod. So so anyhow, that's some of the things that we're going to be talking about. Other things will include things within the educational system,
the arts, poets, spoken word artists that use their words to motivate and educate about our world. I'm looking forward to introducing those artists as well, hopefully in the next few weeks.
Okay. Okay.
Spoken word artists. Yeah.
And Michael, like I said, you mentioned, of course, being a military vet. I mean, I know you see things a lot different as to perhaps some of us, but my dad was in the Army, and I got drafted. The only thing that saved me was the mere fact I got drafted, and then after going to boot camp, they could have ended it before that. After going to boot camp, and then like 2 months after boot camp is when they signed the treaty to end the Vietnam War. And I don't mind telling you, when they said, you guys can stay if you want to, but you're always going to be property, in my case, the United States Marine Corps. And I don't know how that happened. And I got scolded when I was being drafted. And you're in a big room of, in my case, 600 folks, and they come up and they tell you, they come to the mic and say, okay, and they call out names and they tell you what branch you're going to. And I'm standing there, and I'm thinking, okay, since I'm here, I guess I'm going to the Army because my father was in the Army. So when they called my name, and it wasn't the Army, and they said, you're going to the Marine Corps, I, like a idiot, afterwards raised my hand when they said, is there anybody have any questions? And I raised my hand like an idiot, and I told them, I think there's a mistake, because my father was in the Army, and I think I'm supposed to be in the Army. Because we're on broadcast, I can't tell you the words that they came up and got nose to nose. I could feel their spit as they're talking to me, using some choice words that we probably can't say And I had to stand there for, it felt like an hour, but it was quite some time getting riddled by the drill sergeant, I suppose. Yeah, it was one of the drill sergeants. When I went to boot camp, one of the first faces I seen was, oh my God, what's he doing here? So anyway, I got off track talking about that because every time I talk about that, I get flashbacks of that. So, with what's going on with the military and the Veterans Administration and, them laying off folks, I mean, it's always hard to get anything done in the VA. So you're going to remove folks, and it's going to get even harder.
Absolutely.
And my neighbors and, and the senior citizens were all concerned about what's going to happen to our benefits because, Social Security, that's money we made. That's our money.
Yeah.
So how you going to dictate our money and how you spend it and how we spend it and all the above? So anyhow,
it just definitely hit home for me. My brother had a stroke earlier last year and was receiving nursing care. He's got VA benefits. He was a vet. And they just stopped his home nursing care. He's paralyzed and in a wheelchair, and he lost his benefit. They fired the whole department. So now they're trying to find him a nursing care.
See, that's
and so that's another duty for me to be there to help him, but he doesn't have nursing care right now because that whole department got fired. The company that they was outsourcing from the VA, they fired them. So it really hit home, definitely for him.
And see, when I hear things like that, and then I hear that Elon Musk has just secured another $300 million contract and $1 billion contract over here and this over there, and our veterans are being removed off, care. I mean, that makes no sense to me at all.
He was even saying they know it's hard. A lot of people don't have nursing care right now. A lot of vets don't have nursing care in-home nursing care right now. He was forced to stop working and be home, and he has no care right now.
See. So we've got to vote, folks. There's a midterm election coming up in 2026. And elections are about 18 months away, perhaps. If we want to make change and save anything and everything, we've got to show up for the polls and vote for whomever. Just vote.
And I would even add to that is even more than showing up to the polls and voting. It's knowing what you're voting for.
Yeah,
truly knowing what you're voting for, and not falling victim or buying into the 30-second sound bites that you get. You really need to understand what are the policies of these people that are speaking and vying for public office, and how is that going to affect people. And I will even go more one step further, and that is to say have some concern about the people in your community as a whole, not just how is this going to affect me, but how is this going to affect people as a whole.
Okay, well, you got to vote. And
which judge just won? Wasn't the liberal that just won?
The Wisconsin judge,
the Democrat.
Despite all of the money and the $1 million checks, so
and
that's progress in a sense of.
I thought that was illegal to pay for somebody's vote, Mike.
But
it is illegal to pay exactly for I'm going to give you this money and you're going to vote this way.
Right.
But the court didn't find that that's what was happening.
Right.
He's putting money into a campaign.
Right.
No, he gave two people.
Right.
He
said
gave
it was like
two people $1 million.
$1
$1 million
what did
each.
He say spokesperson, something like that.
To participate in the electoral process,
right.
but you cannot buy a vote. You cannot say, I'm going to give you this money if you vote for candidate A. I'm not going to give it to you if you vote for candidate B.
Oh,
they changed the word.
What he did, didn't he? I think that's what that's how he did. Look, at least that's what the news is saying, that he actually bought, and of course the people of Wisconsin wasn't going that route. No,
right.
Man, you can't buy my vote. What are you talking about? So I don't know how he got past
presidency,
that.
Well, at first, honestly, I thought he was vice president. How it came all out after election, it was like all I saw was Musk. And I was like, well, where's Vance at? I was like, where is his coverage? And then all of a sudden he all getting booed at the different places he's going to in Greenland. I'm like, oh, there he is. He's getting booed everywhere. But
I know.
I was like, really? Why is he on? I never saw somebody who wasn't you don't even really see vice president in the cameras too much as Musk just been there.
But she's a private citizen.
Yeah. And it's like July. I think the program goes until July, the contract that he's doing.
Doge, yeah. Special
Supposed to go
special
till
government
July.
employee has a
Yeah.
limited time for being able to serve in that
Right.
capacity.
Yeah. Well, as you can see, we're going to be talking about a number of topics. Diversity Focus Today, DEI, which the president wants to get rid of, and of course, locally, the governor of Indiana, the new governor, Mike Braun, wants to get rid of it because he follows the shadow. He's a shadow of Donald Trump. And so anything that Trump does, Braun is going to do. And so, and Indiana is a red state. So, but you got to vote. We can change that. You can change anything and everything, but we got to vote. Okay, we're going to have to start wrapping things up. The last couple of minutes. Last thoughts, comments. Tammy, we'll start with you.
Very interesting show for me. Being the first time, I got to put it out there. I'm a novice at this.
She's a rookie.
Be rookie, so I appreciate the grace and understanding. But it's definitely, having the voice and being able to share from different perspectives. Like I said, I've been a psychologist for a few, past 16 years in therapy, helping people, different stories. Not that I'm sharing any of their information or anything, but I definitely have a grand doses look of different segments of our society and people and what they're going through. So it'll be good to be their voice and to support the arts and bring us out there as healing as well. So
okay. Well, give us the number again, and they'll put it on the screen later.
Okay, 317-426-8380. And then you can also find me at hiddengems.LG.com.
Okay, Mike, yours.
Well, I would just tell you that, as a person who served as a judge advocate general in the Air Force, it's been part and parcel of my career to make sure that employees in various capacities are receiving equal, fair treatment according to the values that have been embodied. And so for us to be looking at this attack on diversity is bothersome to me, but I'll look forward to having some discussion about that.
Now we'll have to do that on part 2. Okay. All right. We've got to run now, so thank you so much for being a part of our very first show, Diversity Focus Today. I'm your co-host, Rickie Solid Gold Clark, often imitated but never ever duplicated.